my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink, cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling.
What's up, guys? We're back again with another episode of WTCtv. Got Paul, the price guide, Anand over there, working on some stuff over there. I'm sure brewing up some new prices. There's always kinds of new interesting sales going on, but yeah. But we're not talking sales today. We're not talking any, our monthly recaps, stuff like that. We're talking a quick recap of our experience with the National Sports Convention. And following this quick little episode, we will have the entire panel that we did here at the 2024 National in Cleveland, Ohio. Paul, how you feeling after that weekend?
I'm good, tired, a little exhausted. And shout out to Chuck, who couldn't be with us because he got sick when he came back. So
I know he got a little copy of the vid there, and so happy to say I talked to him this morning. He's feeling much better today than he has the last few days.
Love from everyone to Chuck. Hope you feel better, buddy, in a couple of days. We may be doing a more detailed review of the National. The whole idea was just to get this panel to you right away. We just have a few quick thoughts and just introduce sort of what happened. But we definitely would look forward to coming on with Chuck when he's feeling better, and get better soon, buddy. I'm just glad you and I are okay.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch, and I'm a little bit under the weather myself. My son, I had the 1 day overlap, so we came in on Saturday. I got the evening with the family, and then they left early Sunday morning for San Diego. Got a beach house out there to go have some vacation for my wife and her sister. It's like that, and so I'm kind of home alone right now. But he had he was coming out a little bit of a cold. I think I got a little bit of it, so the throat's a little scratchy, nose is a little runny a little bit, but I think I'm hopefully over
either that, or I'm going to walk into your house and there's going to be empty beer cases and G-strings hanging from the chandeliers and all that kind of thing, right?
Stop, don't.
Yeah,
Stop. Yeah, stop that. But I had a bunch of notes prepared to kind of do like a complete national recap, but I think you're right, Paul. Let's just give a brief little intro into our panels like that, how it came about again, and what it consisted of and stuff like that, and how we felt about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that did watch the panel live. I mean, this was our third year doing it, and we kept it a little smaller this year. It was just you and I and Chuck, and of course, Adam Gelman and Ryan Shearer from WTC. And we sort of each had our thing to say. And the way it was set up, it was like very busy. So we couldn't really do a Q&A because like it was really loud and there weren't any microphones set. So we figured, okay, let's just say our piece and be done with it. But that's the whole idea, is that for anyone that missed it, it's here now for you to watch anytime.
Yeah, and once again, they did a bang up job on that of setting the whole thing up. How the audio all worked and stuff like that. I'm really pleased with how they did things with that. So, and big shout out to James. James, the one who sent over the link to us. Every year he does a great job making sure that we sound as best as we possibly can, and then making sure that it's looking good. I heard a couple of complaints from people who were viewing it online, especially on YouTube. I think that there was a couple of outages or something like that. There were some maybe commercials thrown in or something. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
All right, well, we'll be pleasantly surprised when we upload it then, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't viewed the whole thing, but it looks pretty solid. It's a pretty decent sized file.
James is on the ball. Like everything he sent us in previous years has been good. So, at least we have something for posterity, for the community, something that sort of records the panel for the last week. So
I always look forward to the panel. First year, I remember being a little bit nervous having to do guest speaking. I think doing the podcast. Well, podcasts have also kind of eased it for a bit for me. Second year, a little bit better. This year felt a lot more in control as far as presentation goes. Trying to get a little stuff going on with the crowd a little bit, asking some questions. But like you said, they didn't have anybody mic'd up out there, so it was kind of hard to really interact. So yeah, the panel was a little shorter than usual. I think it's a total of like 41 minutes. There were some guys that were there that did come to the trade night the next night, and I was chatting with them, and they said they enjoyed it and they appreciated sort of the time that we spent putting that all together. And again, have a look, guys. I mean, it's 5 of your leading minds in the wrestling card hobby talking about a bunch of different things. Yep, we cover a little bit of not so much past. I guess we kind of did with your top 10. We did the top 10 for the past year of sales. Yeah, a lot of Hogan All-Stars in there. Yeah, you're always going to have Hogan in there. Hogan's going to be in there no matter what. I mean, I think he was in 6 spots or something like that, the top 10. So that's no surprising to many of us. But talking a little bit about some of that past. We talked about the current market a little bit now, and then having Adam and Ryan discussing a little bit about what to expect in the future now that we have a transition happening here. Because that's part of what my show notes are from when we actually do a complete national recap. I have a good, the bad, the ugly list I want to kind of go over on that one, and looking forward to doing that. But panel was fun.
Talking more about the trade night and just the sort of show in general, and then our fun that we had sort of outside of the show at the Rock Hall. We'll do that with Chuck as soon as he's feeling better, and we'll schedule that. And hopefully within the next week or two, we'll have that up for you.
Yeah. So there's a lot to cover. At the same time, there wasn't much to cover, if that makes any sense. And I think that'll make more sense once we do.
Yeah, we'll talk about our synopsis of what how wrestling did that this year's show.
But the panel, again, always good to do the panel. I know you and I will probably talk out in the coming weeks, months, as we discuss like how we want to handle things for Chicago next year. I do have some ideas again, and yeah, it was all good, man. It's always good when you got some people that come over there and are interested in hearing, about wrestling cards. I liked I didn't know at the time, but the backdrop of us and the big things like that had like your whole like.
No, I didn't realize it either. So I was right.
Yeah,
I didn't know. So that was kind of cool.
I know they cut off names and stuff like that, but they just showed a whole bunch of, all like basically your layout that you have on.
It's the first time they gave us the graphic, which is nice.
Yeah, which was really nice, and so I think that kind of drew some attention to the stage, and it's always happy, Brody the Kid, third year in a row.
That main stage has sort of evolved into being basically for breaks, right? It's the Whatnot's the main sponsor of it now. And 90% of the stuff that goes on that main stage, particularly on a Friday, on a Saturday, is live breaks.
Yep.
They do have certain groups like women in cards and a bunch of specific things, but it's very nice of them to hold that sort of spot for us, the wrestling community, knowing that we're new and that we're growing. And they've told me that they appreciated what we did in the last couple of years, and it seems that this year went just as well. So we hope to have that for you every year at the National.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe in the years to come, we end up doing half of our panel ends up being about a break. When we do a break right there live on stage. You never know.
That would be a good idea too.
The evolution, man, the evolution. Just happy to be part of it because, we're pretty happy and proud of the fact that wrestling is getting some recognition as we talk about year after year. And that's pretty much it, man. I had a good time.
Yeah, me too. So before we roll, once again, thanks to you and to Chuck and to Adam and to Ryan. Hope you guys enjoy our panel.
I hope you enjoy it too. So, guys, stick around. Here's the panel if you did missed it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the National in Cleveland, and welcome to year 3 of Wrestling Trading Cards at the National. My name is Paul Anand. I'm from the Wrestling Card Price Guide. We have 5 of the foremost wrestling card experts in the world on this panel today. I'm going to introduce everybody. Everyone's going to do a little chat, and then we'll open it up if there's any questions or anything of that nature. To my right is Mr. Tony Vela, who's the owner of WrestlingTradingCards.com and the Wrestling Guy store in Phoenix, Arizona. Tony's going to be talking to us today about wrestling retail. To my left is Mr. Adam Gelman, Sports Cards Uncensored. Adam is one of our foremost modern experts in the hobby, and he's going to be talking about that, about the big transition next year to Topps from Panini. And he's also going to be talking a little bit about the main event, this t-shirt that we're all wearing, that he's put together that we're going to have tomorrow night. To Adam's immediate left is Mr. Ryan Shear. Mr. Ryan Shear is going to be talking about the digital end of trading cards. And down at the end is the one and only Chuckster. And if you don't know who the Chuckster is, you got to meet Chuckster. Chuckster's going to be talking about Indie and the Indie Brotherhood. So before I pass it over to these guys, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I do. I do pricing in the wrestling card hobby. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about some of the bigger sales in wrestling cards from this last calendar year, basically from last year's National to this year. So I'm just going to quickly go top 10. The number 10 sale was a 2018 MGM Limitless PSA 9. Our friend Matt Delakis knows about that one. That sold for $10,000. And shout out to Mr. Joey Graben, who was the purchaser of that. Number 9 was a 1982 Hulk Hogan Wrestling All-Stars PSA 8. That sold for $10,800. Now, folks, this is a big deal for us to have wrestling cards trade in the 5-figure range, because a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case at all. The number 8 top sale over the last calendar year was a 1982 Ric Flair Wrestling All-Stars PSA 9, $12,200. Shout out to our friend Uncle Danny in the hobby, who was the lucky guy to purchase that card. Number 7 was a 1981 Hulk Hogan Marusho PSA 8. That's a card from Japan, and that traded for $12,900. Number 6 was another 1982 Ric Flair's Wrestling All-Star. This was a PSA 9, and it traded for $14,500. The number 5 sale of the year is the 2022 Steve Austin Panini Prism Black, and if you're not familiar with black Panini Prisms, there's been some really huge sales of those cards. Number 4 is the 1982 Andre the Giant Wrestling All-Stars. That was a graded BJS 9.5. That traded for $23,400. The top, number 3 was the 1982 Hulk Hogan Wrestling All-Stars again, BJS 9.5. And those generally are the highest of those grades, $25,800. Number 1, 1981 Hulk Hogan Papi Kajirara, PSA 10. That's the figure card from Japan. That traded for $31,720. And the biggest sale of our last calendar year was the 1982 Hulk Hogan Wrestling All-Stars, another BGS 9. That traded for $49,200. So 1 Hulk Hogan, 2 Hulk Hogan, 3 Hulk Hogan. So anyway, so that's what happened in last year's wrestling cards. Some of the bigger numbers. We're really proud to see the numbers getting higher. Our segment of the hobby has slowly grown, and we're at the point now where we're here and we're happy to talk about this to everybody. So I'm now going to pass things along to Mr. Adam Gelman. Adam's going to talk about the Panini world over the last couple of years and how we're preparing for the big transition next year to Topps.
What's up, everyone? So I'm Adam Gelman. I run a couple of different sites as it pertains to wrestling cards. We just started our first ever wrestling card Patreon group for this particular event. It's www.patreon.com/main event wrestling cards. You can follow me on Instagram at WWE Gelman. And sorry, I'm going to put the mic closer here. And you can also follow me on Twitter at SC Uncensored. Most of my content usually focuses around the modern side of wrestling cards, and it's become a absolutely crazy experience because actually my background is mostly in sports cards outside of wrestling, but within the last few years transitioned to WWE because my kids are such huge fans of wrestling, got me back into it after sort of falling out of favor in the Attitude Era back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So really excited to be back on stage for the second year. Thank you, Paul, for having me on the panel again. We had such a great time last year and just absolutely excited to host the main event, which is our going to be our special wrestling trading card trade night at the NSCC trade night, which is taking place tomorrow night downstairs in the Collectors Lounge here at the IX Center. So if you guys are wrestling collectors out there and you want to be a part of our wrestling trade night, come be a part of the main event. We have a ton of giveaways. We have a ton of stuff to give away for people who want to come and just trade wrestling cards, want to be a part of the community. That's what this is all about and what we've designed it to be. So very excited to host that again for the second year in a row. I think last year we had, 175 people come?
Yeah,
this year...
I remember I was talking about if we even had 40 people show up, it was going to be a success. And next thing you know, 175 people show up, and
yeah,
I'm like,
it was
what is
crazy.
going on?
And it's just so much fun to see people that you don't expect to be wrestling collectors come up and be a part of it. We're expecting double, I think, the amount of people this year, which is, maybe small by comparison to the general size of the trade night. But man, for a wrestling size community where we're a niche organization or a niche community inside a larger hobby, it's just absolutely incredible. So really what I was going to talk about is if you guys have been following along with wrestling cards, over the last couple of years, Panini has come in and done an absolutely tremendous job inside this space, bringing more people, more value to the cards, a lot more individual sort of chases that exist now within wrestling cards in the modern sense, and things like WWE logos, insane relics that were only usually reserved for the football and basketball products. Now they are a part of wrestling, and chalking up, as Paul was just sort of sharing, we saw the Stone Cold Steve Austin sell for a ton within the last year. We had the Rock Prism Black 101 sell for $126,000 on PWCC in 2023. Just everything is coming up wrestling, and it is so awesome to see the growth that is happening. We also know that when Panini announced that they were taking over wrestling cards and coming in, the same day Fanatics announced that they had reacquired the WWE license. So as part of their licensing agreement, we assume that Panini is going to have a little bit of time left, but it will go back to Fanatics and Topps and be a part of their portfolio at the very latest in 2026. And we can expect that all the collector favorites like Chrome and Finest and all of those sets are going to come back and be a part of this all over again. They were exceptionally popular before Panini took over. I assume they will be exceptionally popular again. Hopefully we're going to see some new sets come into it as well. I've heard rumblings of many different Topps favorites making their debut in WWE. Fanatics and WWE have one of the best licensing relationships that exists. If you were over at the Fanatics booth, you've seen that WWE is going to have a heavy presence at Fanatics Fest next month. I mean, it's just, the growth in this area has been unprecedented, and I cannot be more excited to be a part of it. And if you guys are coming to our trade night tomorrow, you'll see the full power of the community on display, just how many people want to be a part of wrestling cards for the first time, returning collectors, existing collectors like I know we have been for a while, everything from modern to vintage to indie, you name it, everybody will be there. And we have some amazing stuff to give away, including 5 black box 1-of-1 autograph cards that will be available for people who come and show that they're part of our community. And just we're going to be randoming off just absolute ton of product. You name it, we'll have it. So it'll be super fun. You don't need to pay to get in. It'll just be a part of the general NSCC trade night. Come join us. Come say hi.
I want to go back a little bit to what you're saying for how do you think the transition is going to play out? We went from Topps to Panini. We saw what Panini did. Amazing stuff. We're going back to Topps. Do you feel like Topps is going to learn something from what Panini did that made it successful and carry on some of those traditions?
That's a great question. I have to, listen, I've known the guys at Topps for a very long time, some of the best people in this hobby. And just, I know the individuals that are on the Fanatics side as well will have unprecedented access to new experiences, new relics, new autographs, who knows. But I think that now that we know what's possible, right? We know that Panini can deliver some amazing photography. Yep. They can deliver amazing relics. They can have autographs of literally every wrestler that's alive currently. Topps has a lot to live up to, right? They have to use that access that they've gained with Fanatics to bring a new level to these products, or I think collectors may end up disappointed, and that's unfortunate. I have confidence that they'll be able to do it because for everything that Fanatics has done so far at WrestleMania with WWE World and everything that Fanatics has done with WWE in their shop and the autographs that they offer through their website, I have to believe that they're going to knock it out of the park just like Panini did. But Panini set a high bar. I mean, what Panini has done with Immaculate, Impeccable, Prism, and Select, hard to beat.
Well, just with the photography alone, it's just been incredible. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see if Topps continues that type of tradition right there as well.
Ryan and I have been making videos for a long time and about wrestling cards. And one of the things that we always say is that we feel that when the Panini products are made, they're made by somebody who's a fan.
Yeah.
And the photography that's chosen, the cards that are chosen, and everything that's going on there, they know what we want as collectors, I think, and they've really delivered that above and beyond.
Agreed.
Now, what about pricing, Adam? Are we going to see the huge price tiers that we've seen on some like Impeccable and Immaculate? We talked about this earlier. We're like an Undisputed or a Chrome. Where are they going to fall? Your best guess.
So if we have to use kind of what we've seen on their website for previous products to better understand what to expect for WWE, we've seen UFC Chrome at $200 a box. So I would have to guess that the years of $80 Chrome boxes are gone, unfortunately. Because I remember I ripped probably 10 to 15 cases of it when it came out in 2020, and it was like $60 to $80 a pre-sale. I think those days are over. But Topps has really shown that they're willing to make products just like Panini has for all walks of life. I hope that continues. I think it's a requirement to be successful in WWE. So I would expect that they'll have Undisputed at $300-400 a box. They'll have Chrome at $200, Finest around there. But it should be a pretty wide swath of pricing.
Yeah, I'm curious about prices on wrestling going forward because I opened a store in Phoenix, Arizona in January of 2023, exclusively all about pro wrestling. Everything's pro wrestling. And I'm trying to get my customer base into cards. I specifically love cards. I funded the store on the sale of a wrestling card. And so I'm always curious about getting into new products. If I want to start packing that out, do I want to start selling wax? Like, how am I going to approach my customer base? So right now, my customers are liking buying packs. I'm getting them addicted to them like drugs. They're out there, just got to get my fix. It's the thrill, the chase. And so I'm curious, like, what am I going to buy in the future, and what can I afford to buy for my store? So it's good information to have.
Yeah, I think things are going to change dramatically just across the entire hobby, because we know that Fanatics is taking over all of the licenses for the major sports at the latest in 2026 as of right now. And there's a lot of consolidation that's happening. We've seen auction houses, we've seen vaults, we've seen partnerships formed across every aspect of this. I can't believe that wrestling cards won't fall under a same consolidation path. So as we get going and as things sort of ramp up over the next couple of years and Fanatics kind of tightens its grip on how things are going to be run in the hobby, there's going to be some major changes. Some of them will be popular with the community, others probably not.
Yeah, I'm learning not only from the card side from Fanatics, but also from the t-shirt side, because they're my main supplier of t-shirts, through them, Ripple Junction, Homage, 500 level, things like that. But it all is consolidated under the Fanatics. And box prices are concerning to me, as a retailer now. And I said I want to pack things out, but the store is kind of giving me a lot of insight now to a lot of the things going on behind the scenes. So I'm curious to know where the future lies, and I want to be on top of it. And I know that's going to play a key in the future for a lot of stores. I think the days of maybe mom and pop stores are going to be affected by that. And if you're not tech savvy in some sense, you're probably going to be affected by it. And so we try to stay on top of it.
So I think also you have to remember that when Panini took over, we got a brand new wave of collectors and investors and all these new people that came in that followed the other sports in Panini. They jumped into wrestling. I think we're going to see it again, because some people, it's either Topps or Panini. It's not both. But a lot of people, it's both. So the ones that got away from Panini because it's not Topps are going to come back because now it's Topps.
Yep.
And I think that the ones that came because it's Panini, they're going to stay as well. So I think we're going to see even more of a growth and more of a boom again when Topps and Fanatics gets their full swing going.
I'm curious, you guys do just strictly Topps stuff? You do Panini? Do you do both? Both?
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, and like I said, I think you're going to see another boom again in wrestling cards. And I can tell you, I've been working at the Sports Card Junction booth, and it's flying out of there.
Yeah, you guys have one of the most impressive display cases out there of wrestling cards I've seen at this show so far. 5 dedicated display cases.
The booth, right?
Amazing stuff.
Just mention the 2 booths where they are.
Yeah, so if you're at the show this week, go by 3402 and 3502, that's Sports Card Junction, and then RBI Crew is right behind them. I would hazard a guess that they probably have about 60% of the entire wrestling display at those 2 booths.
Yeah.
And we're talking $10 cards up to multi-$1,000 cards. So there's something for everybody's budget.
Tons of 101s?
Yeah, oh yeah. Tons of 101s, tons of the rare stuff, on card, sticker, just a ton of it. And like I said, you can, and they're actually on the same side of the booth, so you can walk right down the row from one booth, from one vendor to another and see everything. And I'm really surprised that because last year we did see an increase in wrestling on the floor here, and I think we've taken a step back.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Because
I was just talking about that because I'm actually looking for boxes that I could, cheap boxes that I can take back to the store and break into packs for customers. And I'm seeing a lot more people having some singles, but I'm not seeing a lot of boxes this year. So I'm kind of weirded out by that. Like,
yeah, and RBI Crew and Sports Card Junction are really committed to the wrestling hobby. They're committed to wrestling collectors. They're incredible sponsors of the main event.
Yep.
Without them, I'm not so sure it would get done.
Nope.
Despite Adam's and the rest of this crew's best efforts, they really help put on that event tomorrow night. And if you are in town and you are here Friday night after the show, you got to stop by. It's going to be downstairs. Yep, downstairs as soon as the show ends, right? Yep, in the collector's lounge. So yeah, so if you get a chance, stop by, They're over in the room with the TriStar Pavilion, RBI Crew, and Sports Car Junction.
So this guy over here, he brought up that Upper Deck. And so he's an Upper Deck. He's obviously an AEW collector, maybe. And Upper Deck's the only one really doing some digital cards at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do we see that coming back to Topps as well? Digital stuff for Topps? No?
So yes, Top Slam, which was Topps' digital trading card app, I believe may be making a comeback. So I don't know. I've heard that as we get going into some of the licenses, Topps, as part of the requirement to have the WWE license, you have to put out digital cards. We saw the NFTs for Panini come out late last year. I would venture a guess that we will start to see the return of Top Slam here very quickly.
Now, Tony, your store isn't just wrestling trading cards. You've branched off into T-shirts, into figures, into books, into all sorts of things. Talk more about the sort of cross-selection of products that you can get at Wrestling Guy Store Phoenix.
Well, Wrestling Guy Store, like I said, was founded on the sale of a single wrestling card. And it's expanded into T-shirts, action figures, DVDs, magazines. If it's wrestling, I want to carry it. So it's a little bit of a West Coast feel versus East Coast feel. I try to have a little bit of everything for everybody, and it's constantly turning all the time. And now that people kind of know that we're there, we become like a destination spot. Because having a dedicated wrestling store is kind of unusual, isn't it? I mean, I know there's a few on the on the East Coast, like Wrestling Universe. There's Suplex Wrestling in Philadelphia, but there's nothing really on the West Coast. And making something all about wrestling, it's kind of a big gamble, I think. So I was kind of just testing the market out, see what it's like, and people seem to really enjoy it. And we bring wrestlers in all the time. I've worked with a lot of pro wrestlers over the last 28 years. So instead of traveling the world with them, I have them come to my store now. And people come there, they get to meet them. Hell, last weekend we had Matt Cardona in the store. Last month I had Ron Simmons. Next month I have Godfather coming in. Month after that I have Sandman. I mean, we have all these different people coming in all the time. So people come in, the bread and butter is the action figures, but more people are coming in going, do you buy cards? I would be interested in selling you some wrestling cards. And I've come across some really killer stuff that you would not believe. It's incredible to me. So we keep growing month over month, and I think we're in a positive flow. Already we've been there a year and a half. This year we're going to be doubling our annual sales from last year already. So it's going, and I want cards to be part of it, and I'm watching my card market kind of grow slowly.
Awesome. Yeah, and for those of you who would be watching this or are in the Phoenix area, I go to almost all of Tony's signings.
He's my bouncer.
I am the bouncer. I am the non-compensated hired muscle.
Yeah.
But what I've seen, Tony, is over the past 18 months, and we've talked about this before, we saw with the first signings a dedicated group. And with every signing, that group grows and grows along with new people.
Yep.
And we're talking 112 degrees outside also. And they wait outside for these signings. It's not like it's 75 degrees.
Well, to be fair, we instilled a pager system now, so they can just go take a pager, go sit in their
3
car,
bottles of water,
go to Subway, get a refill for $1. You know.
Free bottles of water.
I installed Misters last time just for Matt Cardona.
But I think it's really a measure of your success. And having that store and the way it's growing, and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
And you guys are a big part of it. So having guys like you and Nick, from Crazy Card Collector, having Doug and Mark, all these guys who've come in, they've all want to be part of it. Not only have they become customers, they've also become friends. They met because of the store, and they do things outside of the store beyond just wrestling. Hey, you want to go to the Stones concert with me? Yeah, let's go. They become good friends. So that's my wife and I have really taken a lot of pride in that. The store has brought in these collectors that become now friends. It's not, you don't have to be afraid to be a wrestling fan anymore.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to be a wrestling fan.
No, and I tell you, we get all walks when we come to those signings. Yep. You get the fans that have been there forever. You get the brand new fans. You get the people who just heard about it word of mouth.
Yep.
And it's really something. I enjoy being part of it. I really like coming up there.
Yeah, well, we can't do them without you. So.
Yep.
Now, before we get to Chuckster, who is quite on the end, Ryan, your expertise in the hobby has always been e-pack, digital, and just playing off what Adam spoke about, going from Panini to Topps. Talk to us about where you see digital sort of transitioning.
Okay, so there are some online programs for AEW. Upper Deck has AEW. And what they do is every time there's a pay-per-view, of which I think there's 8 per year for AEW, what they did last year is they split them up 4 and 4. They had 2 different programs, and about a week or so after the pay-per-views, they put out a limited print run, about a week, made to order, 4 base cards, a silver card, and a gold card, and they fall within the online packs. These are real cards, they're not digital cards. And then if you collect all the cards, you collect all the base cards, all the silvers, all the golds, you can redeem them for certain achievement cards. I did it last year, and I got a really nice set of the women called Battle Royal. It did really well in the secondary market, I can tell you that. So the Upper Deck has that program rolling along. That's pretty steady. They're going to keep that going. One of the things I will tell you that if you're going to do the Upper Deck match dated moments is what they're called. There are 2 separate programs. There's usually a match dated moments and a match dated moments special edition. So just make sure you're paying attention to which set is which. Now, as we jump over to Topps and Fanatics, Panini is still doing their instant cards. So for the time being, you know, the instant cards, all they have to do is do a mock-up, throw it on the web, and people can order them. It's really easy. It doesn't take 8 months to plan an instant set. That's why it's called instant. Yep. They can do it within a couple days. So once that goes away, I fully expect Topps to do the Topps Now program, which they're doing with UFC. They took over UFC a couple months ago. Following every UFC pay-per-view, they release anywhere from 3 to 5 cards. They're $10 a card. If you buy the bundle, they're a little bit cheaper. $24.95, you get free shipping, and then they insert parallels and special chase cards. And so for UFC, they do the poster cards. So for instance, with UFC 303, there's 303 UFC poster cards. And despite that high print run, they sell for like 40, 50 bucks a pop. So if you buy your cards for 25 bucks and you get one, you could make a little
scheme
cash.
of things, 303 cards is not a lot.
Yeah. So, and I would really love to see WWE, the pay-per-view posters, come to WWE. They're really popular in UFC. They're fun. People like them, and I could see them doing that pretty soon. As soon as they get the license and they can make them, those sets are going to come out. I will collect them. I collect the UFC sets every year or every pay-per-view, and I just think that, you know, eventually they're going to start adding in. I would think they're going to add in possibly autographs, you know, on a limited basis. But I think that for $24.95 for 3 to 4 cards to remember an event by, you have a chance to get a special chase card. It's a great program. It's a winner. It really is.
Nice, thanks, Fran. Before I introduce Chuckster, we've been talking. Yeah, oh, is it? We've been talking about Panini. We've been talking about Topps. We've been talking about Upper Deck. We could talk about the top Hulk Hogan All-Stars, but there's also another area of wrestling cards that's been growing, and that's the indie segment. Indie wrestling cards are becoming more and more popular, and right on my thing here, I got something called the Brotherhood. And the Brotherhood of Indie Wrestling is a group that was created a few years ago by Michael Neubauer, and Tony, Chuck, and I, being independent collectors, have the privilege.
For those out there, you guys know what independent wrestling cards are?
Yeah, indie wrestling.
Yeah, like, you know, I was just making sure people know what that is.
Yeah, non-WWE. And one of our foremost experts on that subject is the Chuckster. Now, Chuckster's been a collector since day one. He's like
he's a relic himself.
Yeah. So Chuck, let's talk about indie cards.
Okay, well, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Chuck Davey. I'm pretty well known in the wrestling card world as the Chuckster. Indie card, yes, have been my forte for the past several years. They've been around the hobby for a long, long time, but just about 2020, they've really taken off. The first set I remember collecting, and this shows you how long I've been in the hobby, was back in 1993. A little independent set called Mid-South Wrestling was released, and it was a very rare and a really popular set. You can still find them to this day, but they're a little difficult to find. But that was my first break into indie wrestling. At about 2020, things just started to explode because the pandemic had kicked in and everybody was sitting at home trying to find stuff to do with their money. And all of these wrestling promotions that couldn't put on shows decided to start releasing cards advertising their shows and their performers. And all of us IndyCar collectors really started forming a really big fan base for these things. What caught my attention about them is they had featured a lot of wrestlers who are now popular, but nobody had actually really heard of at the time. We have early wrestlers on the cards of MJF, Cody Rhodes, Brody King, just to name a few. A couple of the sets that collectors really like are the Limitless collection. They're very rare, very hard to find. And some GCW sets. GCW is very popular among indie wrestlers. They're still putting on great shows. If you get a chance to go see a GCW show, I highly recommend it. They've had some great stars go through there that's come on to be really big stars. Around 2016, there was a couple of guys by the name of Brian Ubin and Chris Smith. They put out 3 sets of cards that we in the collector business called the PWG Bola cards, which was from Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Battle for Los Angeles. And they released 3 sets. Those sets were considered and still are considered the sets that actually started the indie card movement. They're still a great set. They're still available. I was talking with someone earlier in the crowd who told me that there's actually a seller here who is selling some of the PWG Bola cards. I'm going to have to hunt him down a little bit later and see what he has to offer. Other notable sets that came out that a lot of indie collectors still look after are Wrestling Revolver, Sabotage Wrestling, Ignite Wrestling. These have got some really great early cards of now popular performers. And another nice thing about the indie cards is they usually have a low print run on them, so they're really hard to find. Once collectors get them in their collections, it's really hard for them to part with them. I'm one of them. Once something gets into my collection, it's like sucked into a black hole and it's not going anywhere. I've collected cards since about 1980, and I've always enjoyed being a completist, trying to get everything that belongs to a set. But with the rise of Topps and Panini and Upper Deck, that's become almost impossible with parallels and insert sets. And that's why I really like indie cards, because you can buy an indie card set and you buy 1 set per box and you got everything that belongs to it. So it kind of feeds that completist bug that I have.
Hey, Chuckster, if
it's
you look
usually
at the
small
way...
sets. Yeah, they don't have inserts. They don't have parallels. They very rarely have autographs. 3 years ago, we started this panel back in Atlantic City, and wrestling cards really wasn't a big deal at the time. But after our panel that year, wrestling cards kind of exploded. And who knew that in 3 years' time, we would still be sitting up here on these panels talking about cards. And this little indie group that we have called the Brotherhood that Paul mentioned earlier, there's 12 of us guys in there. We're all we're all indie card enthusiasts, and we just keep each other informed of what's being released. It's now hard to actually buy everything that is out there. In the beginning, there was only 2 or 3 sets released here and there. Now it seems like every week there's a new set coming out. They're a little harder to find than the average wrestling card because of the low print run, but it's really worth the hunt because you never know what person in that set is going to end up being a breakout star down the road. One of the mantras we have in the wrestling card collecting world is collect what you like, and for me, that's independent cards. So if any of you guys are going to be around here tomorrow for our trade night, hunt me up, because I think I might have a few indie card sets that might be available to purchase or trade. So hunt us up and give us a little bit of your time. I think you'll really enjoy what you find when it comes to indie cards. Thank you.
Hey, Chuck. So if you look at the licenses that, because Upper Deck purchased the AEW license a few years ago, do you think that there's any indie organizations that are prime real estate for a major card company to come and sort of pick up that license? I mean, you've seen the success that TNA has had recently. You've seen the success that GCW and all the other smaller organizations have had. Do you think that that's an area in which one of these major card companies could come in and sort of start making sort of cards for them?
I would actually like to see GCW be picked up by a large company, but another one that I'm really excited about seeing picked up again, they used to have a major license, that'd be Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
Impact has some fantastic performers right now. They've got some great stories going on. And quite frankly, as big of an AEW mark as I was 3 years ago, that's kind of dropped down to third in my list. And Impact is much more of a fun
really
show
good.
to watch. And I think those guys are...
Do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Joe Henry, everyone.
I believe in
Remember
Joe
that name?
Hendry. Who else believes in Joe Hendry? Yeah.
Brody knows Joe Henry.
I love it.
Yeah, I think the independent market is an exciting one. It's really grown a lot, as you said. And I do credit the 2016 PWG set as being the launching point for independent stuff, because it's really kind of it's given wrestling card collectors an opportunity to really start speculating or prospecting on who's going to be the next Seth Rollins, who's going to be the next, anybody. I mean, and so a lot of guys, because you guys are mostly East Coast based, they're buying things from all over the world, not even knowing who the promotions are. It's a very cheap and affordable way for promotions to advertise themselves. So just buying a set for 20, 30 bucks, sitting on it, and all of a sudden, who the hell is Joe Hendry? Just came out of nowhere, and now
I had
he's a
no
thing.
idea. I didn't know who he was until a few months ago, and then I just fell down that rabbit hole of his music videos that he makes. And it's just like when you have that talent level and you have that charisma, collectors are gonna. I mean, his Impact card, I don't think has sold for since February.
Yeah.
I want one.
Yeah.
And I've never bought indie cards before. I want a Joe
That
Hendry
is strange
card.
for you to buy a. Yeah, it's unusual for you.
I only collect one person, but I want a Joe Hendry card because that guy is not only hilarious, but man, that song just gets stuck in your head and I can't get it out.
Who knows that song and who wants to sing it? I don't want to sing it.
And see, there you go. There's case in point. Joe Hendry is an independent card. It was sold in a deck for like 30 bucks just a few months ago.
Yeah.
The man is now a superstar, and his cards are selling for over $100 just for that one card that was in a pack of 20 cards, I believe it was, for 30 bucks. And now that one card could buy that several of those sets over 2 or 3 times over.
It's crazy.
So that's what makes it fun.
It's crazy because his debut on NXT got 2 million views in a day. It's just insane. But even if you look at just people coming out of nowhere, I mean, you see how influential the wrestling card community can be in sort of rallying around a certain individual. Yep. Whether that's somebody like Joe Hendry or MJF from AEW when that was a big deal, or somebody now like Tiffany Stratton or whoever like Rhea Ripley in WWE. Those prospecting sort of situations are now a thing. No one really used to prospect in wrestling.
Nobody
before.
did. And it's funny because Paul and I have been doing we used to do monthly recaps for several years, and you hardly ever saw an independent card hit the top 10. And now here we have, as we said earlier, an MJF in the last year sold for $10,000 for an MJF card from Limitless. We're starting to see some of these more obscure independent type cards start hitting our top 10s every single month. It's crazy because people are, like you said, they're prospecting, they're speculating on who could be the next big star.
Yeah, and I've said a number of times on our videos that before 2022, there weren't many 4-figure WWE sales. There were 0 modern 5-figure WWE sales. Since that time, we've had 39 5-figure sales. Yeah. We've had a 6-figure sale. The $1,000 mark is hit daily at this point. And that's just insane to me because I remember spending $1,000 on a wrestling card in 2017 and 2018. Unheard of.
Unheard of.
Now it's
very common. So
every day.
When we do our monthly recaps, we cover the top sales every month or every 3 months now. It takes $3,000-$4,000 to even crack the top 10.
Yeah, it's
hey,
crazy.
Tony, if I might mention, we just confirmed the last sale of that Impact set that has Joe Hendry in it just sold for $305 on eBay. I paid $30 for the set, not 6 months ago. and it's
crazy to
already
me.
$305 on eBay.
Do you
I'm
guys,
not gonna lie, I would buy it at
do you
$300.
guys think he's going to get a Cena match? Next year is Cena's grand finale. Do you think Joe Henry's...
Is it Joe Henry?
We're kind of hoping for Matt
Okay.
Cardona, and we're kind of hoping
we
for Joe Henry.
we all know that Cena's last match is going to be against Baron Corbin. So,
of course.
because Kurt Angle and
Don't do that
Tony
to
are
me.
close.
Don't do that to me.
And I had to do it.
Don't do that to me.
But yeah, I mean, like, if you look at like Cena's retirement, because he's like the last of that era to really still be on stage besides Randy Orton. So, you know, Rey Mysterio, R-Truth are still around, but Cena's like the face of that era. And, you know, personally, I would rather like they put somebody over that needs it, right? That needs that lift. I think they probably end up going with somebody like Gunther, who's a heel, and like they're building him up to be the champion of the future. He's a great wrestler, great personality. But man, can you imagine if they selected somebody like Joe Henry to do it?
It'd be fantastic.
Invest in Joe Henry, I believe.
Anything else, guys?
I think that's it. Hey, guys, first off, I want to thank for the main event again. Ryan mentioned it before. A huge thank you to Chad and Ryan from RBI Crew and Sports Car Junction. All the guys on the planning committee for our event. I want to thank CGC Cards for everything that they've done for the wrestling community and sponsoring our event. Please be a part of this.
Mention their booths again?
Yeah, and their booths, if you want to go and take a look at their booths, it's over in the 3400 and 3500 area, over in the corner over there. Tons of wrestling cards. I've seen it more busy there, Ryan, than I think I've ever seen it. They're going fast.
So this is my 23rd national now. I've been helping Chad now for a couple of these. I have never seen it busier than it is right now. And I'm talking even post-COVID 2021. Like we have not sat down now for 12 hours, and it's nonstop. And a lot of it's wrestling, and people are, and I'm asking them, I'm like, why?
I know that guy.
Because I want to know. And it's nostalgia, and it's people who watch it right now, and they watch it with their kids, and they say, okay, I remember the Iron Sheik, give me that one. And I like Kevin Owens, give me that one. And it's a mix of everything.
And compared to other sports, it's still very affordable. A lot of it is grossly undervalued. It's still very affordable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you look at the GOATs, for lack of a better term, of the sports. You want a high-end Tom Brady, you want a high-end Mickey Mantle, they're going to kill your bank accounts. You want a high-end Hulk Hogan, you want a high-end Ric Flair, you want a high-end Becky Lynch, you want a high-end Seth Rollins. Well, you're not going to get the Becky Lynch because we know why. But cheap. But those cards will not kill your wallet the way like you can be a player in the wrestling card game, no matter how you want to approach it. So.
That's a benefit, right? That brings new people in. You can, and like, I think I put out a post just starting a wrestling PC on the Patreon group, just helping people understand like how to get started in wrestling cards. It's so easy. And the community is welcoming, and they cheer for each other. It's not as competitive as you would see in football and basketball. So there's a ton going on here to love about this community, and I can't say enough good things. That's why I stuck around.
If anybody, we're going to wrap it up now. I think we're getting close to the end. If anybody has any specific questions about wrestling cards, by all means, we're here. Let us know. Anything? All right, folks. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and if you're here for the rest of the week at the National, and remember, wrestling cards, they're a thing now, and we're proud to represent them. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.